Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the Muslim Bitcoiner podcast. Today we have a special guest. We are interviewing Farooq Ahmed, who is runs a web design agency based out of Pakistan, and he's also has started the Bitcoin Pakistan community back in 2017 to educate Pakistanis about Bitcoin and to spread awareness about Bitcoin as well. Farooq Ahmed, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Abdullah.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
So I guess just to start out, could you tell me about how when you first heard about Bitcoin, or how did you start to learn about Bitcoin, and maybe talk a little bit about your journey?
Yeah, sure. It all started, back in the day when I was in the university, like in 2010 or 11. I started, doing the freelancing work. I was, studying computer sciences, and then, I got into the, websites and internet, and started, providing different kind of services. And we had, I was in Pakistan, and we had like a problem with receiving money. And PayPal didn't work in Pakistan, and it still doesn't work, yet in Pakistan. So I started learning more about how to receive money. There were very few ways, and banking never was kind of a little slow in terms of receiving money in Pakistan. So when I searched, it was like really frustrating. I tried to make PayPal account, another account to have the money chain ready to provide in order to provide my services. So at that, when I was searching, so that was a problem, and it was really bad. And then we had after a couple of semesters, we had a project coming in, like we had to build something. So I was thinking, like maybe we should build a system, for Pakistan, where freelancers can receive money easily, from other countries, from abroad. We got a couple other my friends got involved with me, and we started researching about it, how we can solve that problem. But we couldn't solve it, but it was still in my head. And later on, a couple of years later, I graduated from the university, and I had no idea what Bitcoin was, or Bitcoin is, because I didn't know about it. After a few years after graduation, like in 2016, somehow I got introduced with Bitcoin. Some friends who were sitting, and we were having a conversation, and they said, "Hey, check this out. A Bitcoin. It's also a monetary system where you can, receive money, in Pakistan easily. It's not like in banking jurisdictions and stuff like that." So I got home at that night, and I started learning about it. I went to the internet and I Googled it. What Bitcoin is. Got a lot of different perspectives. It's a coin, it's a digital money. I had zero idea. So I got studying about it. And then when I read the white paper, because I'm a computer scientist, and I was technically sound. So it blew my mind, right? Really, like, wow, man. We were trying to solve a problem like 5 years ago, and we were thinking about building a system, where countries like Pakistan, and people, freelancers, that were providing services from here, can receive and send money, very easily. So I was like, that man Satoshi Nakamoto solved the problem in 2009 or 10, and we didn't know about it. What the hell, like it was really like a kind of a game changer, and it was a amazing. And and then I started learning more about it. I remember that 6 to 8 months, I was like really studying about it, everything I can find. I got the talks of Andreas Antonopoulos on YouTube. I listened to that very carefully. It was a key step in getting me understand about Bitcoin. So that's how I started it. And then obviously I somehow I tried to find it, like how can I buy some. I had to see it, like how it works. So I tried to went on a couple, groups on Facebook and, other communities where, wherever I can find some people who are using it, I can buy it from. And then, I found a group on Facebook. It was like a money exchange group. And then, I got introduced with a guy and, he sent me Bitcoin, I sent him money, and I saw that, wow, it works. That's how it all started.
How did your colleagues, when you discovered Bitcoin and you started looking into it as kind of a way to like accept payments, how did your colleagues view Bitcoin initially? Were they like very skeptical? Did they not like the idea? Well,
yeah, it was like, most of my friends was not like, who were, working with me in freelancing, right? We were making websites and, blogs and, we had AdSense accounts and stuff like that. My friends, they were not like, a computer scientists. They were like, some were, studying mechanical engineering, electrical engineering. And, they didn't have the core, understanding of it, but, they thought like it's kind of like a scam or something like that. It didn't really hit them. But when I searched it, like I read the white paper and I found out like, hey man, it's a problem solver. Mm-hmm. Like it's the future of money, and it's everything. Like we have like a lot of problems. In terms of banking. I didn't have that. Have a bank account in when I was in university. So mm-hmm. I was like out of banking system. So I had to find other ways to receive money. So it was like most of the people I spoke to, my friends, my colleagues, and everything, they thought, no, hey man, we're not gonna get into that stuff. It's very scary and stuff. And they still are like 80% of my like friends, they still don't get it. It's 2022.
Yeah, I've also encountered that issue. And I have to say, I was one of those people that was kind of like very skeptical of it. As I mentioned, when I first got into it, my older brother told me about it since like 2014 and has been trying really hard to like orange pill me. And it wasn't until like 2018 or 2019 until I started to kind of like open up to that idea. So it does take some time, and each person is kind of going on their own journey, and everyone will get in at the price that they deserve.
Like, I don't think like, it's a kind of like Abdullah, you also have like a engineering background, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't think like if the previous like background makes an impact, like if you are a computer scientist, you understand the digital aspects of things, maybe it's easier for those people to understand it. And then when it comes to the other like people who are not involved into like computer things and internet, those kind of things, they have like a little bit of trouble understanding it. Maybe they need a little more time to understand it.
For sure. And it's not even just like so much the computer science aspect of it. I mean, you kind of have to like understand economics. You have to understand like some game theory. You have to there's politics involved in it as well. There's a lot and also like understanding how money works as well. Since you've kind of started down your Bitcoin journey, what have there been any changes that you've made into your life or into your work about like how you incorporated Bitcoin into your life?
Yeah, definitely. It changed the whole perspective, of my mindset, how I was thinking. Like, before Bitcoin, I was like a kid, working to find ways to, start my business, in the world, how I can, provide services to other people in different countries. When I discovered, Bitcoin, I studied it. It didn't change it didn't solve the money problem, but, in everything, like it changes the perspective, how I was thinking, how I was perceiving, what money is. And then, it changed the lifestyle, how I treat myself, how I treat with other people, with the society and, with the cultures. And, and then, it also changes the perspective of, your, I would say, healthcare. I tend to, take care of like, be conscious of what I am eating and stuff. A lot of people, Bitcoiner says that steak, meat and good health. Take care of exercising and that kind of stuff. it opened my mind to understand how the world works. Bitcoin gave that opportunity to me, nothing else. Like, I was a graduate student, and I know nothing about the world, right? I didn't know, what politics is, what, how to, travel to other countries, what are, the systems, what are the restrictions, and everything. So Bitcoin gave the opportunity to study all that, the macroeconomics, the aspect of it, and then, global politics, how these powerful nations are controlling the developing countries, those kind of things. It really hit me, when I got the understanding of Bitcoin. So I thought, hey, like, it was all about the money, right? It was all about the money.
Yeah, whenever you kind of like look at any problems that are going on in the world, especially at a macro perspective, you kind of always can trace it back to like, all right, where's the money coming from? And then, you realize that always there's like a certain group of people that were not elected that control the money supply, and they can just, print as much money as they want. And that completely distorts like the economy, it distorts production, it misallocates capital. And, it just seems like that's such a big problem. I don't want to say that is like the where all the problems come from, but like, if you're going to fix any problem, especially like, someone like myself who's concerned a lot about like the Muslim Ummah, you're not going to be able to fix anything about the Muslim Ummah unless you actually address this problem first. So, and, there's definitely like some other aspects, at least like in my life, that I've changed. It's lowered my time preference. I've been living more frugally, and I've been saving more. I've been thinking more about the future. I spend more time with my children. I take my work more seriously. It's kind of weird how that kind of permeates into your life and forces you to like, it changes your behavior and your thoughts as well.
When we like you brought the subject of like the Muslims, how they perceive, I don't think like most of the Muslims understand the money subject. It's like when you don't understand the money, you don't understand most of the things.
Yeah, that's definitely very interesting, because like I feel like a lot of Muslims would be able to benefit from understanding just like how money works. And you also see like the scholars don't really understand how the money works. Even especially those scholars that are specialized in finance sometimes don't even understand how like fractional reserve banking works. To me, that's been very worrying. So when you're trying to spread Bitcoin awareness and trying to promote a Bitcoin standard in Pakistan, have you noticed like as far as the people that are already interested in Bitcoin, are they more into like crypto, would you say, or are they like more Bitcoin maximalists, or is like Bitcoin maximalism not even an idea among Pakistanis?
You always normal, when we talk about normal people, when we tell them, hey, this is a better money, right? Forget Bitcoin, like this is a better money, you can use it, and you can upgrade your lifestyle. The normal human instinct is they would think about how I can benefit from it, so I can just use it. So when they study a little bit about it, the price has gone very up, during the few years. And let's find out, someone tell them, hey, this is the next Bitcoin, right? And this coin's price gonna up, same as Bitcoin in the next few years. So a normal human being would, think, yeah, this is the opportunity that I should get in, because they don't have knowledge, they don't understand the whole the game of it. So just like that, a lot of Pakistanis, because of they don't have the understanding of Bitcoin. When we try to for the new base, when we tell them, hey, this is Bitcoin and it's a better money, and they would after some time they would study about it, and then they would go to the shitcoin reward. They would go to the other opportunities. They would try to find the opportunity that can they can benefit in terms of financial terms. They can make some profits and stuff like that. So that is why in wherever we see in developing countries, where we have knowledge gap, right? less resources. For example, Pakistan, India, and countries in Africa, you would see there is the high scam rate, high fraud rate in terms of when we talk about crypto and Bitcoin, and we compare it. In Pakistan, the situation is same. Most people would choose the crypto, and they would test themselves out by buying some stuff, and then they would get wrecked. They would get, they would lose their money, and then they would come back and they would study, hey, if I had put my money in Bitcoin and I didn't put in Ethereum or other, shit coins, I could have, saved my money, I saved myself. So that's how, it is.
And, myself being in the US, as I'm trying to orange pill, some local Muslims here, even the Muslims that are already familiar with Bitcoin, they're automatically already involved in, Ethereum and all these other shit coins. And I feel like that's also been my struggle, is to try to separate out Bitcoin from crypto. And that's also been a challenge for me as well. So it's really no surprise that you're also struggling with that.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna go away, in a short period of time. Everyone would be a Bitcoiner, and there would be no shitcoin. But that's how the markets work. I think shitcoinery and crypto is here. It's I tell people normally it's a kind of a gateway drug. Crypto is a gateway drug to Bitcoin and Bitcoin maximalism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I will say that fortunately for me, I've had my older brother who was already a maximalist, so I didn't really go through kind of like a shitcoin phase. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, your brother saved you.
What's been the attitude of the Pakistani government in relation to Bitcoin? Have they been have they banned it, or are they discouraging it? Are there even any legal Bitcoin exchanges in Pakistan?
Yeah, like most of the governments around the world, Pakistani government doesn't understand Bitcoin and crypto. They don't have any knowledge, they don't have any understanding about it. Governments always trying to do something, whatever they can. Back in 2017, I remember, when we had the bull run, and Bitcoin price went from $1,600 to 19,000. At that time in Pakistan, everyone, every other person, you would see they have somehow heard about it. Bitcoin. They couldn't buy it, or they got involved in financially, but they have heard it. Hey, Bitcoin is something. At that time, a lot of other projects came in, scammy people, started the shady projects in Pakistan because, people didn't understand it. I remember there some guys, from, I think UK nationals, Pakistani UK nationals, they started some scam projects in Pakistan, and they, hired teams and, resources to market it. And they got huge. And, a lot of people bought that scams, those coins. I don't even remember the names yet, OneCoin, and other, names when it comes to my mind. A lot of people bought that, and then after some time, it was because it was an MLM scheme. They got away with taking the people's money, and then people started complaining about crypto and Bitcoin to the government, and then government wanted to do something. What government did, government asked the State Bank of Pakistan to take some action. So State Bank of Pakistan in April 2017, if I am correct, they published a paper, and they said to the banks in Pakistan, they said you can do the transactions for Bitcoin. If someone is buying or selling Bitcoin, you should ban their accounts or something like that. Find that out. So that kind of thing. So it prevented some people from getting involved later down the road. It gave the impression to people's mind that Bitcoin is some kind of a scam tool, right? Mm-hmm. Because when people get scammed and everything, the blame gets onto the Bitcoin. So that's how it works. After some time, people then again, it was a bear market. People, kept buying and selling Bitcoin. It was done in the private social media groups. Yeah, that's how it worked.
That's quite unfortunate, and you definitely see that in like other countries as well, where the government like actively orders the banks to not process any transactions that are involved in Bitcoin or whatever. And it's no surprise that you also see that in other Muslim countries as well. Do you know if any of the scholars in Pakistan have issued any fatwa against Bitcoin, or what are their general attitudes among the scholars in Pakistan toward Bitcoin?
Yeah, most of the there are no like religious scholars. They haven't published anything yet, but they gave the directions and hints to the common people that it's it's a speculative market, and you should the general aspect. The thinking is like they want to protect people. Like they would say just avoid that. For the sake of people, because a lot of people get scammed because of trading and other kind of things that we say to people that you shouldn't do it, right? We tell people you shouldn't speculate on the Bitcoin price, or you shouldn't trade it, leverage trading and future trading and stuff like that. But when it comes to the scholars' point of view, they think about all those things, and they think Bitcoin is being traded is the main application of Bitcoin. So that is why their understanding is a little bit confused yet. But I think later down the road, they are going to understand it, and they are going to take it more seriously and positively.
Do you think in Pakistan in particular, do you think like hyper Bitcoinization? I mean, do you even see hyper Bitcoinization happening in Pakistan? And if it does, do you see it happening from the scholars and governments first, or do you see it happening from like the common citizen first?
Yeah, in Pakistan, it's a developing country, and we have like more than 30% inflation a year. So a common man, who understands money, like who has the dollar exposure, or other access to other foreign currencies, they try to protect themselves, buying for example dollars in Pakistan. They try to keep less Pakistani rupees and more of the dollars. So common people, they always want to protect themselves, but when it comes to the how it is perceived as a money, and how Bitcoin, hyper Bitcoinization, it's not like there's a huge gap in understanding in Pakistan yet. So I think it's gonna take a long time for the hyper Bitcoinization to come in Pakistan, because the first step for Pakistan is to escape from their local currency to a better money. And then the next step the Pakistan they see is the dollar. When they have the dollar exposure, for example, businessman, and whoever who have understanding of the money, they would get to the dollar. They would get as many dollars as they can and save it in dollars. And then they understand the dollars, and then they got understanding of Bitcoin. They will go to the Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the second step for them. So I think it is going to take I think longer than the developed nations. Like for example, when we talk about the United States and Europe, where people they already have the better fiat money, right? The dollars and euros and yen they are using, and they just need to plug into the Bitcoin network, and it's a single step. So for the developing countries, they need to escape from the fiat, their local fiat currency, to the better fiat currency, and then to the Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin hyper Bitcoinization comes. So it would take, I think, a little bit longer than the developing nation if we compare it.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective, because it's kind of sad, because like people living in third world countries, or people not living in the first world, need Bitcoin more than people living in the first world. So it's like, I tend to agree with you. I think, obviously there's going to be a lot more Bitcoin adoption in like Western countries. And then, I kind of have this pessimistic view that like, I think Muslim majority countries are going to be one of the last countries to like adopt Bitcoin, just because we have so many obstacles from governments, from scholars, and from people not wanting to understand Bitcoin. But yeah, that's an interesting perspective, and it does seem kind of hopeless.
Yeah, when it comes to the understanding, Muslims, they tend to rely on the religious aspects of it, and then they will listen to the scholars, and hey, if it's halal or haram, those kind of things, and those things I think prevent them. If we prevent them, from adopting it. When we compare it to the other people, for example, developed nations where people don't have such restrictions, they do their own research, and they are, technically sound about it, about their money and their lifestyle and everything. When they study it, they find out it's a better money. They would just go for it. So there's no hurdle for them. But for Muslims, it's kind of because Muslims are more conservative. They have to think about a lot of things. So I think when we talk about the religious aspect, if the scholars said they understand it first, and they said it, hey, it's halal money, it's better than fiat. I think it would be a revolution tomorrow morning in Muslim world.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like been my approach, at least, is I've been kind of using a different approach lately, where when I'm talking to Muslims, I like to talk about the problem of fiat, and specifically riba, or interest, or usury. And you kind of get the Muslim to think about like fiat and usury, and kind of get them to think like, all right, how is fiat created? Well, it's created through usury. And you kind of get them to start thinking of like, oh, every dollar that's created is created through usury. So there's no way like this money that we're currently using is halal, like by that standard. And I think like once you kind of get them going in that direction, then I feel like it's easier to kind of introduce the concept of Bitcoin, where you can be like, well, you see how corrupt this fiat system is. Here's this other system where there's a hard supply cap. There's no riba or usury involved in the source code. And it's the most Islamic form of money. And then like I start sending them like material for like Harris Irfan's podcast with Saifuddin is a very popular one, and that's kind of been the approach. And I wonder if that's also an effective approach to use with scholars, as well as to kind of advise them, or tell them about the dangers of fiat. I think might be a better approach.
Yeah, like most of the Muslims, they don't understand that fiat is, I would go for it. I would say that fiat is haram money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like 100% of fiat that exists today is based on riba. It's based on credit, and based on ashuri, Mm-hmm. So it can't be halal. We had gold for like thousands of years, and in Islam, it was the best currency to use, right? At that time, thousands of years ago, when Islam came, and it said that the gold is the perfect form of money that should use. Every Muslim should protect their wealth in, and use as money. It was like hard gold, right? But if we compare it to today, I don't know the exact number, but most of the gold quantity is index based, and it's not hard gold, right? You can't have that. So and the index base is it's controlled by some few entities, and it's been traded, it's been speculated, and anything that you can imagine, it is done on that, right? It's same as fiat currency. So gold is not like, we can't say that, today's gold is, halal, right? So that is same, another form of fiat. So when we, compare it to the Bitcoin, it has a hard cap, right? Only 21 million Bitcoin, ever exists. And if you want some, you know that you want a portion of, of 21 million, right? And it is not controlled by anyone. It's a free market, and the value of your Bitcoin that you own is, you decide, what is its value is, right? It's simple supply and demand economics, right? So people don't understand that. People, go to the website, point market cap, and they would say what is the price of one Bitcoin. I don't like, the Bitcoin that I have, I don't, value them from the spot price, right?
Right.
It is valued. You're like, yeah, if I want to use it, for services I can get, I can, use it, I can send it directly Bitcoin, in the future. But, we still have to, do a lot of stuff to go there. But, the point is, the Bitcoin is more halal money than fiat in terms, in terms of religious perspective, right? So that's my understanding of it.
Yeah, and you brought up a very good point about gold. I mean, like, if you're transacting with gold, where I pass it to you hand to hand, you could argue that, like, okay, like that's like, a halal transaction. You're actually using gold correctly. But like you said, most gold transactions are just like credit based. They're really no different than fiat from that aspect, even though there might be something backing it. But like, there's all of these credit derivatives that are built on top of gold. So, and when explaining the value of Bitcoin, I really do like to use gold as kind of like a stepping stone to understanding Bitcoin, because like, there's nothing really like Bitcoin out there. You have to kind of like describe this new thing that's been invented that humanity has never has never come across before. So especially when I'm trying to explain it to Muslims, I like to bring up gold, and I like to bring up the properties of gold, and that kind of gets them to start thinking of like, oh, okay, like Bitcoin actually has value. Because one of the biggest misconceptions among Muslims I've noticed, especially among scholars, is that they'll say like, oh, Bitcoin has no intrinsic value, and then like that's just so hard to unpack. But I found that like talking about gold kind of helps unpack that a little bit.
Yeah, and apart from that, when we talk about gold, it's really hard for, like, it can't be used as money today, right? It's so hard for common people. If you are handing over, some gold piece to me, and you want to use it for money, how would I, be able to verify if it's gold, right? So it's hard to, verify the if it's gold, and it's also, today, like, we don't know how much the total supply of gold exists today, right? So that's also the problem, and we don't know how much gold would be mined in next 10 years.
Yeah. So I just want to shift the topic a little bit, and I guess maybe I want to learn more about your Bitcoin Pakistan community. Are there any like events that you guys do? Do you guys like advise businesses? What kind of stuff are you guys doing?
So we started with doing our meetups in Pakistan, back in 2017. But after Corona had, we stopped the meetups, and then we've been doing some on Twitter Spaces, and and other online regular meetups. But we are now planning to educate, publish some, write some stuff about Bitcoin for the businesses in Pakistan. And we also tend to, write some stuff to advise, have some positive advice to spread in the regulatory environment in Pakistan for the officials to, get some idea of the to get some understanding of Bitcoin, what it is, and, how it can benefit the system that we have. We haven't been, actively sharing it to the businesses in Pakistan yet, but we plan to do that down the road. But our main focus is to to educate to everyday people. Pakistanis who should benefit, who can benefit from Bitcoin mostly, right? So those the people we speak with, Pakistanis are mostly who are freelancers, who have some kind of a problem with sending and receiving money from other countries, like they're providing services to other countries, and they are working like freelancers, and those kind of people. So we also tell them, hey, you can easily use Bitcoin to solve that problem as well. So and recently we started translating some Bitcoin resources in Urdu to have to get the the people, the community in Pakistan who doesn't speak English and they don't read English. So we published our first translation of the bullish case for Bitcoin by Vijay Boyapati. Yeah, a couple, I think a week ago we published that, and it's a beautiful, article to get on board, to get the first understanding of Bitcoin, and compare it to gold and fiat and other aspects. So and now we are planning to, we're doing actually translating other books as well. So in a few weeks we'll be publishing more stuff in Urdu as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's something I kind of want to get myself involved in, inshallah. And I'll probably be contacting you about some ideas about that. I've at least in the U.S., there isn't any like Muslim organization that's like trying to advocate for Bitcoin from like an Islamic perspective. And it just seems like any kind of like Islamic finance podcast or videos or YouTube videos where like they're talking about Bitcoin. There's so much like crypto and shitcoin and Web3 noise that gets like lumped into that. There's no like Bitcoin only from a Muslim perspective, and I feel like that's sorely needed. And I think you've also hit like a really important point about the education. That's where it starts, is the education, because if you don't have material, if you don't have like a knowledge base to like go from, then you're not going to be successful. You're just going to be like advising people and telling them different things. Like, so the first thing like I think that's needed is like a knowledge base. And then from there, then you can like start to advise like not just scholars, but also like businesses, also nonprofits or organizations, like in the regular average everyday Muslim. Like all of these demographics I think they need Bitcoin. And the education is really the hardest part.
Exactly. I really like that idea, and I appreciate the work that you are doing, right? In terms of like educating, especially focusing on the Muslim community. How, because we have like very few names and people who are involved in like hardcore Bitcoiners and Muslims, and they hit the points of like for the common Muslim people to understand Bitcoin. And they do it well, but we need more resources, more educational material for everyday Muslims to understand it, because Muslims have a lot of questions. When we sit with a regular Muslim and we try to tell them money problems, we try to share with how Bitcoin works, they would have a lot of questions that would, even you would need to research, if you're a Muslim too, you would need to research about it. Like they would ask for you in terms of like hadiths and other perspectives, how they can settle their mind on it, and how they can get their peace and accept that Bitcoin is better money or something, so
Yeah.
we need a lot of education to get to that point. And I appreciate the work that you are doing and you want to do in the future.
Thank you. Yeah, and I plan to continue doing that. As a Muslim myself, I like approaching Bitcoin from the Islamic perspective, because a lot of, if you're Muslim, chances are you take your religion seriously, and if you take your religion seriously, then you need to like actually see where your wealth is coming from. And you need to see like where your money is coming from as well. I think like if I can at least try to reach like Muslims from that aspect, I think that could, at least hopefully, inshallah, like start some kind of movement globally. Because like, this is, the when I talk about like the Muslim Ummah, I mean like the global like Muslim community. I think they've been affected by fiat currency historically, and they just don't know it yet. They don't know the history about fiat, or even the history of their own countries sometimes, and how money creation and credit creation is involved in a lot of their history. And I think just getting Muslims to kind of think about these questions is the way forward I want to go in. And it's kind of nice to be able to see like, organizations like yours that are in Pakistan that are, trying to orange pill many Muslims in your in your country. So I also appreciate the work that you do. So I guess before we close out, you have any last thoughts you want to share, or like any advice that you have for Pakistanis or Muslims that are looking into Bitcoin? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very challenging thing. Like especially like telling Muslims to where they can get started with with their money.
Yeah.
So like I would say to the Muslims and the Pakistanis, whoever they want to jump in and understand the Bitcoin concepts. I would say like come with the like an open-minded perspective, right? Don't be close-minded when it comes to the money, and kill your beliefs. Like your the things that you believe in are mostly wrong today, right? For
Mhm.
example, you mentioned that the fiat currency and the gold perspective. A lot of Pakistanis, they still believe that Pakistani rupee is backed by gold. Can you imagine that? So it's it's yeah, right. Like I'm not talking about like a regular guy. I'm talking about well-educated people, like in finances. The other day, I was sitting with a guy who was like very financially sound, and he was actually like a finance guy. And we were discussing, and he said like Pakistani rupee is backed by gold, and I started laughing, right? And he was like so serious, and he said, bring a bill, from your wallet and show it to me. And what I don't remember, but he showed me, like, hey, this is written on it, and you can go to the bank and you can give them this bill, and you can get gold from it. And I was like, oh my god, right? So like, you need to like uh, uneducate yourself from what you understand now about money, and then relearn how money works, right?
Mhm.
So this is a very important point. Like if you understand money works today, I think it would solve 90% of your problems in life. And we're Bitcoiners, we say that fix the money, fix the world. So it works for common people as well. Fix your understanding of money, and you would fix your life, and you would fix yourself. You fix your finances, you fix your lifestyle, and you fix everything for you. So that would be my main advice for everyday Pakistanis and Muslims that are coming into the community. Just have an open mind. Try to learn it, and don't like be go to the and be very careful about where your informations are coming from,
Mhm.
right? Most of the people go to the YouTube, and they would see a couple videos about crypto guys, and what they are shilling, and they would have a different point of view of whole understanding of Bitcoin and crypto
Mhm.
industry. So I would say just follow few people who are hardcore Bitcoiners. Give your time to them for some time, and see what they are saying, and research about it. And then I think it would protect you from shitcoinery as well. And it would take you less time, and you would understand more, and you would learn more about it.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think that's very useful and sound advice. So before I let you go, where can people find you? What's your Twitter handle?
Yeah, the best way to reach out to me is my Twitter account. It's Farooq Ahmed X, FARQAHMED X.
Okay, awesome. All right, yeah, thank you, Farouk. I really appreciate this interview.
Thank you very much, Abdullah,
Yeah.
and thanks for having me.